You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Bay Area, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, how frustrating was this loss? A terrible third quarter dooms the Dubs as the Warriors fall 123-111 at Chase Center. It's been Jekyll and Hyde all season long at home, and last time out, we got Dr. Jekyll. Well, tonight we got Mr. Hyde. The Splash Bros started out hot, but Klay cooled down big time in the excruciating, absolutely agonizing, up and down Andrew Wiggins saga continues. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel. Please smash that subscribe button, and also thanks for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. And this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. Tonight, Steph and Brandon Pajemski got off to a pretty hot start. It was good to see Pods watch a few buckets go in. You know, he had a nice rebound game tonight. He bounced back from a couple really terrible games, honestly, that he had. And Curry even kind of addressed this since the Warriors' last game. He said he does not care if Brandon Pajemski scores or not. All he knows is that every single one of the Warriors' best lineups has him in it. And he does so many other things on the court that Steve doesn't really care if he scores or not. It's evident by how many things he does out there, how many offensive rebounds this guy snags. He's always in the right position on defense. And so it was good to see him kind of get back to that tonight. Aside from that, not a ton of positive things for the Warriors. The Splash Brothers got it going early in this one. There was a ton of pace. Obviously, when you're playing the Indiana Pacers, you know it's going to be a high-scoring game. The Pacers lead the NBA in points per game, shooting percentage, assists per game, a ton of different offensive categories. And they do it in a very not complicated way at all. It's like the most simple, straightforward offense that you could run on a team. And it just really involves getting out in transition. They just push the pace constantly, constant pace, constant throwing the ball up the court, pushing down, not letting the defense get set, forcing tough mismatches and switches on the defense, and then just hunting those mismatches. The Pacers getting a ton of buckets inside tonight in the paint. And it seemed like almost every time down the court, they had like Pascal Siakam on Brandon Pajemski or Moses Moody or some kind of matchup like that, like Miles Turner in the paint against a much smaller defender. And then you had guys just knocking down jump shots all night long. The Pacers, 48% from the field, 41% from deep. Tyrese Halliburton, 25 points. Pascal Siakam, 25 points. And they had 6 total guys in double figures. So really, everybody who played for the Pacers tonight contributed. There's only one guy who played for them. Doug McDermott was the only one who did not score for the Pacers. So it's really coming from everywhere when you're playing a team like this. Outscored the Warriors in transition 26-19. Outscored the Warriors in the paint 60-46. It was pretty much all Indiana on offense tonight. But in that first half, the Warriors did keep it pretty evenly matched. And that was because they were hitting shots. Klay came out on fire in that second quarter. I thought, oh no, is this going to be one of those nuclear Klay games? But no, it wasn't. He scored 10 points in that second quarter, and it did not translate to anything later in the game. He scored 2 points in the entire second half after starting out with 15 in the first half in this one. He and Klay went into halftime. Klay and Steph both went into halftime with 15 points. And Steph was Steph in the second half. He finished with 25. But 6 of 18 from 3, 9 of 24 from the field, not his most efficient night. And there was really nothing past those two guys. Brandon Pajemski, 13 points. Chris Paul, I'm combining two guys. Chris Paul, 12 points. And it just didn't really, not a whole lot happened besides that. So John Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins both really disappeared tonight. Kuminga seemed like he was pressing at varying points in this one, really trying to get his shot going. You saw him miss a dunk that he tried to spike in. And sometimes that just happens. Like You can't expect this guy who's 21 years old to be on top of his game every single night at peak performance level. You'll give him a pass. The person who I'm not giving a pass to is the same person that we've been frustrated with night in and night out, seemingly since he's come back from his break to deal with whatever's going on in his personal life. But all I know is on the court, Andrew Wiggins shrinks in these big moments. They needed him tonight against the Pacers. He didn't show up. And this is what we've been talking about on the Warriors postcast lately is Andrew Wiggins is such a pivot point for the Warriors. When he plays well, when he is that other option on offense for Steph, when Klay cools off or Kuminga doesn't have the night that you kind of hope that he expect from him at this point, not just hope, but expect from Kuminga at this point, when he's not putting up 20 plus points, you need someone else to show up. And that someone should be Andrew Wiggins, former number 1 overall draft pick, incredibly athletic, nice jumper. And he's just not doing it on a regular basis. Wiggins tonight, 4 of 11, 0 for 3 from downtown, 5 boards, 1 assist, minus 12 plus minus 8 points. He's the only Warrior starter to not score in double figures. And at this point, it just feels like he's kind of holding the back offensively. I don't know what will get this guy right. I mean, Kerr is scheming up plays for him, and Wiggins doesn't seem to really be in attack mode. He passes out of good opportunities. He'll have a mismatch, and he won't go at it. He'll pass out of it and allow the Pacers to switch back and set their defense regularly. And it's frustrating, man. Like, this guy should be one of the top flight players in the NBA, and he's just not. He's just not. We got to get into this a little bit more. I want to run through a little bit more of this game first and how it all played out. The third quarter was the difference in this one. That's pretty much the main key in this game was that third quarter. The Pacers outscored the Warriors 36-21. The Warriors had a 1-point lead going into the half. They should have had a 4-point lead, but Halliburton hit a really deep 3 to shrink it to 1. And the Pacers kept that momentum and kept rolling. And guess what? At the end of the third quarter, Halliburton hit another 3 and kept that momentum rolling into the fourth quarter. And the Pacers seemed to pile on in the beginning of that fourth quarter. The Warriors kind of woke up halfway through that final quarter, but it was too little too late. And you can't just mail in second halves of games like this. Like, the Warriors defense was better in the second half, but it still wasn't that great. I mean, yes, it's Indiana. They are a very high flying team. In the fourth quarter, the Warriors actually held them 21 points. So that was nice. But 36 points out of halftime is not a good look, especially when you can only put up 21. The Warriors shooting in that third quarter was really, really, really cool, cooled off immensely after how hot Steph and Klay were. It just wasn't falling. And they looked a step slower than the Pacers every single time up and down the court, defensively or offensively. The Pacers were beating the Warriors down there. They were getting their defense down and setting it up. They were pushing their offense in transition and not letting the Warriors set their defense. And that was pretty much the difference in this one, was the Pacers looked like a younger, fresher team, and the Warriors looked like an old veteran team tonight. That's kind of what it was. They got run out of the gym by a younger team. They couldn't keep up. They tried to make up for it with jump shots, and they just couldn't do it. It didn't really look like the Warriors there in the fourth quarter either. In the beginning of that quarter, there's a lot of turnovers. They're just chucking up threes. Like, they're getting out of their sets. Looked like they were scrambling, and it didn't really look like a team full of veterans that have, been there, done that before. It's March 22nd. This is not good. The Warriors should know who they are at this point and should be able to run their offense with their eyes closed. They shouldn't be entering fourth quarters of a winnable game. It's not like this was completely out of reach. Yeah, it would have been a nice comeback. It would have been a stretch for them to play their way back into this one late in the game, but it was possible. And instead, the Warriors are just sitting there chucking up threes, bad shots early in the shot clock, very little ball movement, very little, movement without the ball. It just wasn't Warriors basketball that you are accustomed to seeing, that I am accustomed to seeing. It seems like this is just every night. We don't know who the Warriors are going to be, especially at home. They fall one game below 500 again, 18 and 19 at home on the season now. And I was checking out their home and road splits, and they're really not that different. Their offensive rating at home 118.7. On the road, 118.6. Their defensive rating at home, 118. Their defensive rating on the way, on the road, 115.6. So like they're actually, their defense is slightly, if you're going by offensive and defensive rating, marginally better at home than it has been on the road, and they just can't win. I don't know what it is about this team, but they just can't win at home, man. They have lost more games at home this year than they have the last 2 seasons combined. It's just a weird thing, and this is playing off of last year too, where like they couldn't figure it out on the road, and it's like the problem's completely flipped on its head this year. They're playing just fine on the road, 18-14, and they can't buy a win at home. This team is frustrating, man. This team's frustrating, and the playoffs are not getting any further away. They're getting closer and closer day by day. Warriors solidly behind the Lakers now in that 10th seed, and you got to start worrying about warding off the Houston Rockets at this point, who the Warriors will play coming up in a couple weeks here. The Warriors, after tonight, this was their last game of their brief homestand, and 7 of their next 8 are on the road. It would have been really nice to come home and at least win 2 out of 3 on this homestand, but no, now they're going back on the road. In 7 of 8 are on the road, 7 of the next 8, and it's going to go a long way determining where the Warriors end up in the West. You play the Mavs twice, the Rockets, and the Timberwolves over that stretch. By the end of this, they could either be right back up there with the Lakers, or we could be talking about the Warriors battling for the 10th seed with the Houston Rockets. And that's just the reality of where the Warriors are at right now. And they need to go, like, it's too late to say this in the season. It's not like no one's just going to walk off the street that's going to be able to really help Steph out. But the Warriors are doing Steph a disservice by not getting him more help. There was all this conversation at the trade deadline this year of what the Warriors should do. They stood pat. They felt like they were going to get better when Chris Paul came back, when Andrew Wiggins came back, and Chris Paul did provide a nice lift. He has been so solid, everything that you've expected and hoped that he would be. Andrew Wiggins has not. Andrew Wiggins has been very disappointing for the Warriors since he's come back on the floor, and he looks out of sorts. He doesn't look aggressive. It just looks like he's wandering through, just floating through these games. It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. We got more to get into on the other side. We got to talk about more of this Andrew Wiggins stuff. This saga just keeps going. Stick with us on the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will be right back. Today's episode of Locked On Sports Bay Area is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at PrizePicks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is really simple to play, and I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. And today, my entry on PrizePicks, I went in and got in on some NCAA action. I mean, who doesn't love March Madness? And I took Kessie Tominaga more than 14.5 points and DJ Horn more than 15.5 points. And I won. Nice. Good guards always step up in March. And I'll keep riding with that philosophy again tomorrow on PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. It's PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. And we got to talk about these wings just disappearing on Stephen Curry yet again. And if Steph does not have help from Andrew Wiggins and John Kuminga, I don't care which one it is, one or the other needs to step up every night. You need to have one or the other. If he doesn't have that, the Warriors are dead in the water. They're not going anywhere. Let me tell you, they might not even make this play-in tournament if those two guys cannot step up. And I don't expect Kuminga to have another night like he had tonight. It's a bad night for Kuminga. 4 for 17 from the field, over 3 from 3, couple turnovers, only 11 points, minus 13 plus minus. He was the worst plus minus on the Warriors tonight. Andrew Wiggins was a close second at -12. So these two guys are the pivot point of this Warriors team. Draymond Green, you know what you get from him. You get defense, you get 8 to 10 rebounds a night, and you get 5 to 7 assists a night from him. That's what you get. You get a point, like a true kind of point guard on offense, someone who's a general on the court, going to make sure everyone's in the right place at the right time, going to set screens. Great. Perfect. Brandon Podziemski gives you much of the same. He's going to make the right passes. He's going to give you hustle. He's going to get loose balls. He's going to get offensive rebounds. He had 5 offensive boards tonight. That's the kind of thing that you expect from Brandon Podziemski. You need scoring. You need Andrew Wiggins and John Kuminga to step up and score at least 15 points a game for the remainder of the season. If they don't, I don't know if the Warriors can make the play-in tournament. If both these guys don't step up. Everyone else on this team is contributing, but it's a lot to ask Klay Thompson to come off the bench and score 25 points a night off the bench. Like, Steph shouldn't be expected to score 30 plus for the Warriors to win. If that's the recipe, if that's the only way the Warriors beat playoff teams like the Pacers are, a good playoff team in the East, even though they are flawed, they do have they'll turn the ball over at times. They're not the best defensive team, but they're still a solid playoff team. I think a better team than the Warriors this season. And if you're going to beat teams like this, you got to have the wing play. You can't just win off a guard play constantly. You can't just expect 60 between Steph and Klay, and then you'll piece it together with the rest. Like, this needs to be a strength in numbers type team if they're going to have success. You're going to need everybody to step up. The Warriors don't have the luxury of winning in all these different ways that they've been able to win in the past. They're just not that talented. They don't have a Kevin Durant who can just take over the game. They don't have an Andre Iguodala who can just do everything off the bench. They have Draymond Green still, yeah, and he kind of does a lot of what Iggy did. But they had Draymond Green back then too. There was the benefit of having another guy who could do all of those same things and still get his own shot and score in bunches. That's what Andrew Wiggins should blanking be. Oh man, it's so frustrating. This guy should be able to be Andre Iguodala, at least maybe not the same. That's a lot to ask, but like, he is a former number 1 overall pick. This guy is uber athletic, like the Canadian Michael Jordan. That was his nickname in college. Like, what the hell is going on with Andrew Wiggins? Why can he not get it right on the court? It just baffles me. This guy just looks so passive and shrinks in the biggest moments. And without this, the Warriors are going to continue to lose. In that third quarter, when Kuminga was obviously pressing and Steph needs to rest at least for like 5 minutes in this game, he played 35 minutes in this one. Steph can't play 35, 40 minutes a game every single night at this point in his career and still be expected to perform at the level that he is. Like, you're just going to run this guy into the ground and waste the end of his career if you do that. And I really would prefer them to not do that. I would like Steph Curry to remain on the Warriors and keep them competitive as long as humanly possible. Because as long as you have Steph, you have a shot. But if you don't give him some damn help, it's not a very good shot. Like, yeah, Steph could go nuclear and score 60 and will you to a win. But again, as we've seen, even this season in Atlanta, Steph could score 60 and the rest of the Warriors can still let you down and you can lose a game and just waste away Steph Curry's greatness. And that seems to be exactly what is happening with Andrew Wiggins failing to step up to the plate yet again. It's so frustrating. This is unbelievably frustrating that still this many years after the Warriors have acquired Andrew Wiggins, we are still having the same conversation, the same discussion. Can this guy step up? Who is he really? What's his identity? We don't know. It's been long enough that we should have an answer to this. And we don't. That's not okay. If you don't have an answer to this, that is your answer. The Warriors can't go into next season banking on Andrew Wiggins to have as big of an impact as they banked on him to have this season. They need to go get Steph help in the offseason. Otherwise, we're going to be right back here the same time next year talking about a spot in the play-in tournament. That is not going to get it done. That is not up to the standard of what the Golden State Warriors have come to set in what Golden State Warriors fans have come to expect from this team. I don't want to go back to the pre-We Believe days. You know what I mean? Like the Troy Murphy, Mike Dunleavy's of the world. Shout out Mike Dunleavy Jr. Great GM. Not such a great, first option on an NBA team in the early 2000s. We don't want to go back to those days. Without Steph on this team, it kind of looks like going back to those days right now to me. And yeah, you got a lot of youth that could develop. A Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, who had another really nice game tonight, 1 point shy of a double-double, 11 rebounds and 9 points off the bench. I was really hoping that we were going to be talking about another big TJD impact tonight, but we did have a little bit more. I wanted to get into him on the other side. I thought this game was like a good benchmark point to reflect a little bit on the development and the growth of Trace Jackson Davis since the last time the Warriors played the Indiana Pacers. We'll get into that and more on the other side. Stick with us. I'm really frustrated about Andrew Wiggins, man. I'm going to try and cool down so we can talk about something positive on the other side. Something happy. Stick with us on the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will be right back. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and I just want to get into TJD a little bit, man. I'm getting exhausted talking about all these Warriors losses at home, the inconsistency, the up and down loss, and tonight no different. Again, just to reset, the Warriors fall 123-111 at home to the Indiana Pacers after the Pacers had a massive third quarter, 36-21. Steph was the only one who showed up tonight. Klay showed up in the first half, and then I don't know where he was in the second half. Maybe he was just chilling on the boat somewhere in the marina waiting to go home back across the bay. But nobody showed up in this one for the Warriors, especially in the second half. Curry had no help. He's out there on an island by himself. Kuminga and Wiggins really didn't show up tonight at all. Kuminga, I think we can give a pass to. He remained aggressive. Lots of good signs. Their shots just weren't falling. That he normally, like, how many dunks is John Kuminga going to miss? How many open dunks is he going to miss? Not that many. Andrew Wiggins, however, different story. Very concerned about him. 4 of 11, looks super passive. Doesn't look like he wants to take any jump shots, even if they're wide open. I don't know what is going on with him. He looks like he doesn't want to attack mismatches. It's frustrating. One guy who has not been frustrating me is Trace Jackson Davis. And I want you all, in your brains, close your eyes. We'll do this together. Well, think back to the last time the Warriors played in Indiana. It was a great night. Warriors won, super fun game, high-flying offense. And at the end of that game, what happened? The Warriors were up a lot. Trace Jackson Davis came in as a nice little kind of like nod. He hadn't been playing a lot. He's not on his hot streak that he's currently on yet. Steve Kerr put him into the game to eat some minutes at the end because it'd be nice to get the Rook some run in his hometown. Indiana native, grew up there, went to high school there, went to college there, 4-year starter at Indiana State, played really, really, really well as a college basketball player, goes to the Warriors, goes back to Indiana for the first time. Kerr puts him in, huge ovation. Crowd starts chanting his name. It's kind of a little bit of a surreal atmosphere. And what's TJ do? Throws down 2 monster dunks in that game. And the roof was about to blow off the Allen Fieldhouse out there in Indiana. And it was pandemonium over Trayce Jackson-Davis, and he scored like so many points so fast in that fourth quarter, like more like a point a minute basically, or at a quicker pace than that, and it was great to see. It was surprising. That's the key I want you guys to think about. It was so surprising to see Trayce come in. Yeah, he'd had some nice games before, but like it felt different. The way that he was moving, how high he was jumping, like the comfortability that he showed with CP3 there at the end of that game with Klay Thompson. It kind of sent up a little flag for me. I was like, "Oh, is this just garbage time minutes? Is this just a guy, showing out in garbage time, or is there something to this?" Because there just seemed to be a little more, I don't know what it was, just a little oomph to what TJD was doing. He just moved so fluidly. He looked different than he did earlier in the season. And since that game, I want you guys to think about how much he has grown. He is averaging 22 plus minutes in the month of March. He's averaging more than 7 rebounds a game, and he's averaging near 10 points a game as well. Like he's doing everything you would want for a big man coming off the bench. In that, I don't remember if it was after that game or maybe one of the post games immediately after, when Trayce started to earn more minutes in the following games. We said, this doesn't really translate. Like he's got nice numbers, like nice per minute stats, but if you just scale those to like a starter's minutes, you would expect some fall off. Well, guess what? They're scaling his minutes up to like starter level minutes, and his numbers are not falling. Like those averages are staying the same. This is legit. Trayce Jackson-Davis is legit. Like I was sitting here during this game thinking about the player he is now versus the player he was then. And I think in this last month, it could just be a good month, but I think he's really proved he is here to stay. Like the things he does on the Warriors right now in the role that he is, they can expand on that. You can continue to run pick and roll with him and Klay Thompson and Chris Paul and Steph Curry once he starts getting more minutes with the starters. But at this point, with the way Andrew Wiggins has been playing, like I know it limits the Warriors a little bit defensively on switches and things like that. I think I'd rather see TJD in the starting lineup than Andrew Wiggins at this point, man. I just really would. With the way that TJD has been playing, with the growth that we've seen in him from Pacer game to Pacer game, I'm floored. I'm really floored. Like when you think about it, he is so solid. He is so dependable. How much better do you feel sitting there knowing that TJD is coming in now to eat some minutes as opposed to the last time they played the Pacers? Like, it's not like a hold your breath thing and hope that he can go toe to toe with like a Miles Turner and hope they don't, exploit this mismatch. Is that a mismatch? I don't think so at this point. I think TJD has proven he can hang with anybody in this league. He's also averaging over a block and a half per game in the month of March as well. This is all in 22 minutes of play. Like this guy is averaging, like Rudy Gobert averages like 13 and 10 a night. TJD is damn near doing that off the bench for the Warriors. Like I'm really happy. I'm just really happy about that. And I think that's a really good sign of something the Warriors can kind of hang their hat on going forward. It's something they got to make some kind of change here going down the stretch, because the only thing that's consistent about this team right now is how inconsistent they are. You need to add some consistency to this starting lineup. Andrew Wiggins ain't it. He is not consistent. He has proven for years since he came into this league, since he was in Minnesota, that he is not the most consistent player, that you can't rely on him to show up even for 2 out of 3 games. You can't, even for half the games. It's a complete roll of the dice every time. It's not even a coin flip. It's not even 50-50. It's like a 1 in 6 chance roll of the dice. Is this going to be a good Andrew Wiggins game or not? I don't know. But you know who is consistent, who has proven their worth, their consistency, their value to this team is Trayce Jackson-Davis. And I think that would add another dimension to the Warriors front line. I mean, on defense, on offense, it would open up a lot more pick and roll. It would force teams to keep defenders home in the paint. I would like to see them try it. Andrew Wiggins isn't getting it done in the starting lineup, and I don't know how much longer the Warriors can roll with this. One more interesting note before we get out of here. The Indiana Pacers have never lost at Chase Center. They're now 5-0 at Chase Center after this win tonight. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. That's about all the time we have for you tonight. Hopefully, Andrew Wiggins gets it right by the time the Warriors get out there next. We'll come to you live then, and it's just not looking good for the Warriors right now. They need to find a way to stave off falling out of the play-in tournament. And I didn't think we'd be talking about this on March 22nd. The Warriors fighting for the final play-in spot. It's a tough pill to swallow, man. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's not Warriors basketball. Got to make a change. Got to make a change at this point. Playoffs are right around the corner. Got to figure it out. That's about all the time we have for you tonight. Again, I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. This has been the Locked On Warriors postcast on Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel and on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Peace.